Hi, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time to join us for another Fireside Chat. Today is November the 9th. We are leading up to Remembrance Day, and we wanted to take some time to talk about Remembrance Day and the effect that that can have on CAF members, on veterans, and on military family members. It is naturally a very solemn time of year, but for a lot of reasons, this can also be a really difficult time of year. We have some people joining us from the PMFRC front and also from OSIS. I'm going to give each person a chance to introduce themselves in 1 second, but before I do, as we go through, there will be people who are going to be talking about different sites that you can reach, giving email addresses, giving telephone numbers of where you can reach out and get assistance. If you are interested in any of those resources, we're going to make sure that they're all added to the comment section below. So if you want to follow up on any of those, but you missed the email address or you didn't have a pen with you, no worries. That'll all be underneath that when this video is posted, so you'll have the opportunity to do that. If you would like to reach out to us, we do follow the comment section. If the concern that you have is more personal in nature and something that you don't want to address on a public forum, we absolutely understand that. You can also feel free to direct message our Facebook page, and we will make sure that you are connected with the proper resources. Let's go through. CJ, why don't we start with you? Why don't you introduce yourself? You've been on the Fireside Chat before. Welcome back. CJ Cote.
Hi, everybody. My name is CJ, and I'm one of two family liaison officers working for the PMFRC, but fully integrated into the transition center on base. So I work down the hall from Donnie and Debbie, not even down the hall, across the hall. So Rhonda and I, our duty is to support the spouse and children of ill, injured, deceased soldiers and veterans. So we support uniformed soldiers and veterans that were medically released by supporting their families. And we can offer services that range anywhere from just being a sounding board, providing supportive counseling, all the way to all kinds of different mental health approaches to support these family members.
Thank you. Dawn, can you introduce yourself and talk about who it is that you support?
Sure. Good day. Thanks for having me. My name's Don. I'm one of three people on the OSIS team here in Petawawa. I have a partner, Jack, who's not here today, and we deal with currently serving and retired veterans, just basically through OSIS, helping them try to find support or being a friendly ear for them to talk to and help to find resources and groups and whatnot so they can have an outlet.
For those people who are new, can you tell me what OSIS stands for?
Oh, sorry. OSIS is a operational stress injury social support. And the social support is important because we're not clinicians or doctors. We call ourselves peers. So we're one-on-one with the people we're trying to help.
Hi, thank you. There's a lot of acronyms in Petawawa, and I try my best to try to dispel those as much as possible for those people who are maybe new to the community and thinking we're speaking a totally different language, which we often are. Debbie, can you introduce yourself and talk about what it is you do?
Sure, and thank you for having us for sure. So my name is Debbie Tarrant. I'm the Family Peer Support Coordinator for the Petawawa area. And Dawn and Jack and myself cover from Deep River to Arnprior. So on the family side, we support the families of the military members and veterans, also available to RCMP family members. And we do the same. We do a lot of meeting up with people. We're located in the transition center, like CJ said, just down the hall. So we've got the family liaison officers and both sides of OSIS all in one hallway. It's very warm environment, easy to come in and just say, hey, is anybody available? That kind of thing. So yeah, I meet up with people one-on-one where they're at and do groups and answer calls. And if somebody has a question, that's perfectly okay to reach out and say, okay, I don't know where to go. Can you help me? And we'll try and find somebody that is applicable, that works for the person.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's about it.
Louise, let's end with you.
My name is Louise Anderson. I'm the Veteran Family Program Coordinator here at the Petawawa Military Family Resource Center. My main goal, or my main role, not goal, well, goal too, is to support medically releasing CAF members and medically released veterans and their families to navigate the sometimes complex system that they find themselves in. It can be as brief as, here's a binder, let me show you how to use it, or it can be, you know, you're moving, helping you to access things in your new place. It's individualized service, and it depends on what the family themselves need.
I'm going to ask CJ this next question, but after she's done, you know, if any of you want to sort of jump in and add to it, please feel free to do that, because you all deal with very different groups in the CAF community. We talked about this just off the top, but this is like a pretty solemn time. There's a lot of images floating around. There's a lot of videos talking about the Canadian Armed Forces, the contributions that they have made, and the losses that have been suffered in the many conflicts over the years. Some people, if you're new to the CAF community, you may not be familiar that while this is a time of tribute, it's also a very difficult time for a lot of people. Can you talk a little bit about what that is and what some of those difficulties might be?
Absolutely. I wrote down a few things because I could do a whole 45 hours on this, so I'm gonna stick to my notes. So soldiers and veterans carry a lot of memories with them after they come home. And at this time of year, I'd say starting mid-September, a lot of these memories kind of start popping up, and their senses heighten in the weeks preceding November 11th, Remembrance Day. But what I mean by that is that because the memories become a lot more vivid, and on tours, August to December tends to have had a lot of history with tragedies and loss for the Canadian forces and other forces. So senses heighten in the sense that they can still smell the area they were in, they hear the sounds, they can still feel the ground under their feet, even though they're back in Canada, and that's a big piece, okay? Many will manage to pack it up in a tight little virtual box in the back of their brain for the rest of the year, but for some reason, this time of year, they become a lot more vulnerable. And this little box unravels and a whole bunch of unexpected things pop up and that they have to deal with on the day-to-day. They also congregate a little bit more with their former peers, current peers, friends that they deployed with, and all that talk tends to resurface a lot of memories as well. These memories are not always welcome, but there they are. The relationship a soldier or veteran has with Remembrance Day can be very complicated and very individual. Okay, there's not a cookie cutter approach. There's different individuals, there will be different reactions. So while the somber memories at Cenotaph offer the opportunity to reflect and spend time on those memories, the losses tend to come flooding back. The other piece I want to add to that, because of what I do for a living here, is everybody manages differently, and the spillage that this manifestation of symptoms can have on spouses and children will vary in intensity. This is where the word OSI, or the acronym OSI, operational stress injuries, can have a huge impact. The more severe the operational stress injury, the more impact and manifestations we may see. So at this time of year, my caseload tends to increase and then decrease sometime around February, March timeframe. So we're in that timing right now. So we'll have a chance to talk a little bit more in detail, but a friendly voice goes a long way at this time of year. This is where the OSIS comes in. This is where Louise and the flows come in, because we're always available for these people.
I think that's a good tie-in to Louise, because when these types of things are happening with the person you love, that does spill out to everybody in the household. It doesn't just affect the member or the veteran, it affects their partner, it affects their children, it affects their friends and family around them. Can you talk a little bit about this sort of from a friends and family and partner and child perspective?
Absolutely. A family is a unit, and usually what impacts one member has a ripple effect to all members, especially when we're dealing with mental health issues. Vicarious trauma is real, and that can also impact partners and children. There's also the anticipation leading up to the date for the families, because if it's a yearly occurrence and you get on pins and needles, and you're kind of walking on a razor's edge, trying not to upset the person, but wanting to be there for that person. And families can also experience feelings of helplessness because they don't know how to help. They want to so badly, but every time they reach out, you don't understand. It's just, it can be very difficult for families for all those reasons, and many, many more. As CJ said, everything's individualized, right? Some people keep it to themselves, but you know that the person's suffering, but you don't know how to reach out or help, or every time you try, it it upsets the person, so you just kind of sit back and watch, and that's really hard to do. So.
One of the reasons we really wanted to do this video today was to talk about the fact that this is real and that this is happening. And if this is happening to you, you are not alone. And I think what we really wanted to talk about the fact is there are supports that are out there. So if you need assistance, I mean, there are people to call, and that there are people who are there and waiting and willing and wanting to support you. Dawn, can you talk about your role at OSIS and how you would be able to support a serving CAF member or a veteran who is maybe experiencing some conflicting emotions around Remembrance Day, either sort of leading up or afterwards, or really at any time of the year? I mean, the anniversaries can change. It may not be Remembrance Day. It may be an anniversary of another event. But, we understand these things happen cyclically. What can you do as an OSIS peer support person to support those folks?
So that's a good point. The guys call them anniversaries, or the people. And it's not just Remembrance Day, but everything seems to, like CJ said, everything seems to come together and compound for Remembrance Day. So what we've been doing with some people that are already in the program with us and in our groups, and that we've been working with over the last couple of weeks, we've already been talking about that we're aware Remembrance Day is coming, how it's going to affect us, and maybe things we can do, maybe a couple things to mitigate our exposure or how we're going to feel on the day. That's for people already in the program. For people that are, feel they may be hurting a little bit more or may need a little bit of assistance, they can reach out to us, and we'll certainly sit and meet with them, and we'll tell them the same advice and the things that we're learning from our other members, where we're certainly willing to meet and share whatever we can.
Perfect.
I'm not sure.
That's good. That's great. That's your answer. That's perfect. Debbie, from a family member perspective, how does OSIS support people through these really difficult times?
Right. So a lot of the answers go hand in hand. We help each other out. So I'm finding right now, just coming up to Remembrance Day, being on the family side and talking to family members, we're not always aware of what is going on with the military member or the veteran. Things are kept quiet sometimes. You may notice a different tone or different intensity with your loved one, but it's not always verbalized. So it's hard to pick up on what's going on in the person's head, what they're remembering, what they're experiencing, being sensitive to that it's a more vulnerable time, and just trying to take some of the pressure off of your loved one. Just being a support and being gentle, and but not a lot of people are aware of that, so they may not notice or think about it. coming up to Remembrance Day. Remembrance Day is typically, you know, the tone is solemn, so it goes hand in hand, but even leading up to it. So just being aware of that and being gentle and considerate, and not asking a lot of your loved one at that time, not adding pressure to it is really helpful, I think. So yeah. And then just for any time of year, people can reach out to us and like I said, ask a question if they're wondering what is OSIS, what is an OSI, who can I talk to, how do I get any kind of help, this is my situation, that kind of thing. And so we try and help find resources and just be a sounding board. That's the main thing. On the family side, I get a lot of that. We first meet up with somebody and it's maybe a 2 or 3 hour talk where they just get everything off their chest. So, and that might be it, or it may lead into more talks, text, phone calls, it doesn't matter what it is, or coming out to group. And group is just a social activity. We meet for coffee twice a week, or we have guest speakers and do an information session on different things. And just have some social time with people that are kind of going through similar situations. So not everybody knows what's going on in someone's life, but you can relate that, okay, had a bad day, some things are going on, I just need to be with other people. So yeah, that's about it.
CG, if we know that this is a tough time, that or a tough time is coming up, what are some of the things that veterans, serving members or family members can do to safeguard their own mental health? What are the things that they can do to sort of put that line in the sand and say, this is what I need to do for me?
So before I go to that, I'm just going to take a step back and tell you my best piece of advice would be for soldiers, veterans, and their families. But what I'm going to say is easier said than it is done. And sometimes you need a little bit of a guide along the way. So my best piece of advice is not to avoid the unpleasant thoughts. Whereas our brain is going to go straight to packing it up in a nice little virtual box and packing it away, that doesn't resolve the issue. So don't avoid the unpleasant thoughts and feelings that memories dredge up, but rather to acknowledge them for what they are, thoughts and feelings. True acceptance of what war brings is hard, and it may take time, as there are often other strong emotions people are unaware of that are at play. And some of those would be like grief, anger, resentment, sadness. But what happened has happened, and there's no amount of conflict or torment that's going to make it go away. So how do you deal with it at this time of the year and the rest of the year for that matter, is to reframe how we think. Reframing our thoughts, it's a choice. And Remembrance Day is all about honoring the men and women who served Canada in times of war, military conflict, or at home in times of peace. So because the events of the past are completely out of our control, because they cannot be changed, we perceive ourselves as being very powerless, right? So one way of overcoming that feeling of powerlessness is to do things that are within our control. And there's only 3 things that each one of us can control, and it's what we think, what we say, and what we do. So managing our thoughts better, saying and doing things that make a difference now. And that can be anything from attending a cenotaph ceremony, wearing your poppy. It seems like so trivial, but it's acknowledgement, you know, laying down a wreath at a cenotaph, if that's something that will make you feel like you're in more control. Even on the tomb of a fallen soldier that you don't know, but that you know was a soldier. Holding that 2 minutes of silence is a very solemn thing to do. It brings up a lot of discomfort, but that discomfort, if this is going to make any sense to anybody, is comforting, because it gives you that feeling that you're honoring, that you're doing something that's within your power to do. Educating our peers, our family members, and students. If you're lucky enough to be called into a school as a veteran to go talk about your time in the service, do that. Supporting other soldiers, other veterans, thanking them for their service. I often go to the States and stateside. If you're wearing a uniform or a ball cap that says you're a veteran, people will pay your groceries. People will pay your coffee in line at the Timmy's, or not Timmy's, they don't have Timmy's, but you know what I mean. Do something that's tangible that'll make you feel like you're less powerless. And then reach out, call someone if you're having a tough time of it. Don't hesitate to do that.
So that's what my next point is, reaching out and calling somebody, because we're going to go around and we're going to ask each person sort of how you can reach them if you want support. But what I'd like to say before we do that is oftentimes people aren't sure if they necessarily qualify or this person's necessarily there for them. Call anyway. Even if you even if you are calling someone who is like not quote unquote the right person, anybody on this call is going to hook you up with the right person. We're going to sort of make sure that you get the assistance you need. Don't not make a call because you think that that person can't help you, or it might not be the wrong person to call. You're not bugging us. We really want to be sure that we can hook you up with the assistance that you need. Debbie, if someone is a family member of a CAF, serving CAF member or a veteran, and they are struggling, how do they reach you?
They can look up the 1-800 number that's included in the chat. Go on the website. Yeah. And the 1-800 number is covered 24 hours a day. So it'll trickle down. Whoever answers the phone will contact my supervisor or the peer support coordinator that's closest in their area. And they'll be connected within 24 to 48 hours. Same thing with the website. It trickles down to the right person and go from there. Or you can walk into the transition center and say, I need somebody. And if you have my email, contact me directly. We can talk, we can text, whatever works. It really is, we're here for you, and whatever is easiest. And there is no silly questions. Like you're saying, Julie, absolutely. Like we talk to each other. So if we don't know, we can find somebody that does.
Dawn?
It's the same way. We're the same organization, but I don't like to throw a wrench into your routine here, but I'd like to go back and comment on something CJ said.
Absolutely.
Okay. So CJ was bang on, absolutely right about owning your feelings. But one of the things that's come up for us discussing this over the last couple of weeks is a lot of the veterans and the serving guys, out of a sense of duty, feel that they have to go to a Legion, that they have to put their medals or their uniform on and go to the Legion to pay honor and pay their respects. When those bagpipes and bugles play, that is so emotional for just about everybody. There is absolutely nothing wrong with going for a walk during the time of remembrance, staying home and watching the national one or on your local TV. As long as you participate the best way that you can in the ceremony, there's no obligation to go and put yourself in a position. And if you don't have someone that can be by your side, maybe it might be best to stay at home and watch it on the television, or go for a walk in the park and honor that. Take that 2 minutes of silence on your own watch when you can, and be very careful on this day of alcohol, because there is a tendency at the Legions, when the ceremonies are over, for the other acts of remembrance. So I'd be very, very cautious of that. But thanks.
Those are all really, really good points. And I think, going back to what CJ said and what you said, taking control and deciding what is best for you and what works for you. And it's not a cookie cutter approach. It's not, this is the one advice that's going to get everybody through. do what you need to do for you and for your own health and safety and well-being. CJ, how would somebody reach you?
Through the PMFRC. So the PMFRC will respond to all kinds of requests for help and assistance, and will offer various services to assist soldiers and veterans by supporting their families mostly. So call us or connect with us via the mental health support at petawawamfrc.com email, and I think you're going to put it down below, but it's mhsupport@petawawamfrc.com. Don't hesitate to reach out. Like somebody's already mentioned, if we don't provide the service, we'll know where and who can. Petawawa has, like I said, 2 family liaison officers, Rhonda and I. We work with the families of ill, injured, and the fallen, families of soldiers and medically released veterans as well. So our clients are both from families with a serving member or medically released member. So don't hesitate. And if you know a friend that is in a situation, you can call on behalf of that friend to get that information and pass it on. It doesn't matter. Just connect.
Thanks, CJ. Louise?
There's no wrong door. Don't forget that. Knock on any door and we will find you the help that you need. I've helped people connect with support in different provinces. I had an OPP officer that I did my student placement with reach out and say that he knew a family that was struggling, and could I give him any resources? So there is no wrong door. Just reach out to someone you know is in a helping role, and they will find a way to get you where you need to be. Having said that, my email address is probably the best way of getting hold of me. It's vfp@petawawamfrc.com, and my phone number is 613-687-7587, and my extension is 3223. Hopefully I'll be here for a while. It won't change anytime soon.
So and I think it's an important point that this is like, you know, while the MFRC is local and Debbie and Don are in Petawawa, these are national. This is, you know, OSIS is a national organization. If you call that 1-800 number, they're going to find you somebody in your community you can talk to. Louise is here at the Petawawa Military Family Resource Center, but there are 32 MFRCs across Canada, and Louise is going to be more than happy to introduce you to somebody in your area. Let them know that you're there, make that connection for you. If you are uncomfortable making that first call, she can help you do that, and she can give you the person's name and make sure that that handover happens smoothly so you get the help that you need. Unfortunately or fortunately, because we want to take time to do that tribute, a lot of offices are closed on Friday. So if someone needs assistance or needs to talk on Friday, Louise, what can you give them?
So all of these numbers are below, but there's the family information line that you can call. It's bilingual. Canadian Forces Members Assistance Program is also bilingual. The base Padres, any of the Padres, they're trained to help. VAC Assistance Line, which is also bilingual. Canadian Armed Forces Kids Texting Service, and Pembroke Regional Hospital Crisis Line. And there's a website, counselingconnect.org, and it's pretty quick.
Debbie, you said that the OSIS line is also monitored 24/7, is it not?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so that's another one. So
that's another way to keep up, yeah.
So we'll keep track of that. We'll put, like I said, all of those are going to be in the comment section. So you don't have to sort of forward and rewind along to sort of see where that is. We're going to make sure that they're all there. Before we go, I think we sort of also touched on this in Sideways. As a family member of someone who has served, sometimes there are times when you know the person is struggling, and they may not necessarily be ready to make a call or to ask for support. What can someone do if they are in that sort of that tough situation of watching someone struggle and not really sure what they can do at this point to get that help? CJ, I'm going to ask you and then open it up for, or sorry, Louise, I'm going to ask you, and then anybody else who wants to sort of chat or jump into that, feel free. CJ, you can talk too if you want, but I'll start with Louise.
First thoughts come to me is that get support for yourself. and your children. Make yourself a little bit stronger and more aware, and then that will help you to help a person. It's like when you're in an airplane, they say put the mask on first, and then you help other people. So make sure that you're in a good place and stable. Speak to the Padre. They're not in the chain of command, or they are in the chain of command, but they don't report back to the chain of command. And they're very well trained to help people to deal with these situations. And we also offer, it's not an immediate support, but we offer mental health first aid for the veteran community. And it gives people tools so that they can have confident conversations with people who are struggling with mental health issues. Sorry. I have a little frog in my throat. And we're going to be running another one very soon. We just ran one, but we'll be running another one very soon. It's really good training.
So even though we don't have the dates or something scheduled, call Louise right away, send her an email, let her know you're interested in mental health first aid. If there's an online one that's happening in another part of Canada, she might be able to hook you up, but she'll at least give you a call when that's scheduled and make sure that that you can participate in that. Debbie, do you have anything you want to add to that from your perspective as a family, if somebody who supports families with OSIS?
Yeah, I just want to suggest and add on to all of the great resources that everybody has said. Just people can talk as long as you're talking. Reach out to your friend, reach out to your loved one. Try to connect as long as you are not sitting there in isolation by yourself with deep thoughts and dark thoughts. Like, reach out. Whether it's kids help phone for the kids or resources. We get a lot of people through word of mouth for OSIS. So yeah, just find where you're comfortable to have these conversations, even if it's just like, hey, I'm having a bad day. It's a tense day. I need to just have somebody with me and just go for a coffee. So yeah, just reach out.
Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add before we go? CJ.
Two things. First off, because I've been working with the spouses of ill and injured soldiers and veterans the past almost 11 years now, I've heard a lot of people say, well, I can't make them go. No, you can't. But you can ply them with a lot of information, contact names, contact numbers, and then when they're ready, they can call, right? Because you can't make anybody attend anything if they don't want to. But not having the information is often the stumbling block in making that first call. So provide them with all the numbers. My clients get the numbers, and then what they choose to do with that information, pass it on to their ill and injured spouse or veteran, that's up to them. And for all the soldiers that may come across this recording, look for the people who have the patch that says Sentinels. They're readily available at the unit level, same rank, no worries about, having to talk to chain of command. They can talk to their peers. Sentinels are trained with some mental health first aid, so they're visible because they wear this patch. And if you're a spouse of a soldier that is having issues, you can remind them to look for their colleague or their peer in their unit that has the patch that says Sentinel.
Yeah, we've trained, we put quite a few through the mental health first aid training. I love that program. I got goosebumps now. I love them.
Thank you all. I really appreciate you taking the time. It is a difficult conversation, but I think it's such an important one, especially at this type of year, but at any time of year. And we've said it before, we're going to say it again. No door is the wrong door. If you need to talk, there are plenty of people who want to support you. You are not alone. You are not wrong for feeling the way that you feel. And there's lots of people who are waiting and who understand. So thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time, and we will see you next week with another Fireside Chat. Thank you.
Thank you.